It is time. It's time to stop hiding. It's time to stand up. It's time for Christians to come together, to share our testimony, to inspire hope, and to join our brothers and sisters as we answer the call. Folks, it's time to wake up the lions. And I have an absolute lion with me today. Please welcome to the show retired Army Lieutenant Colonel, 23 years, sounds like, been in service, born again Christian, author, motivational speaker, servant leader, father of two daughters, and the creator of the Our Protector Development book series. Folks, there's so much more. I mean, it goes all the way down my arm. So I'm going to let this gentleman tell you all about it, and I'm just absolutely honored to have this man on the podcast today. Please welcome Ryan Reichert to the program. Ryan, how are you?
Hey, Rory, thank you so very much, man. No, it's an honor for me to be invited on your show. You're hosting the platform here for all of us that want to listen and tell our stories as well. And, I kind of always go back. In a previous life, I would have never opened up, I don't think, and said, I'm a proud Tatertown, USA, Hoople, North Dakota boy, born and raised there of the mighty metropolis of probably 400 people back in the 1970s when I was born. Yeah, it's just from there. My mother was a school teacher, father was a businessman. He sold insurance there in Hoople, and then played a lot of sports. Went to the University of North Dakota, joined the Army, did the ROTC there for a few years, and then did 20 years of active duty. I was in the infantry, airborne ranger, had 4 combat deployments, partridge in a pear tree. Like you said, two beautiful young women today. One's a senior in high school, one's a sophomore in college. Super proud of Laura and Boo, my two beautiful children. And unfortunately, their mother and I, so former spouse, but we did have a beautiful 20 plus year marriage relationship and so on and so forth that ended in turmoil. I am a recovering alcoholic and prescription drug addict, but I carry those as, I don't know, of like badges of honor today because it was the greatest thing that the good Lord ever had me take on or, give up or he took away. And now I forgot Fortune 500 in there after the military. So I cut my teeth in a world that is, for those of you out there in the Fortune whatever world, be it 1 to 1 million, God bless you, because it's not easy. I think it was easier to be in the military where you had brothers and sisters that looked after one another. We had Ranger buddies that would die for us, and did. But man, corporate America's tough. It's a dog eat dog world out there, and so I did that for about 2.5 years, and then was laid off a little over a year ago, and it was. I was at peace though. I was sober. I was still fighting through the divorce process. That was a long, long process, like 13 months or something. And getting laid off was like a blessing in disguise. I was with my dad fishing at Lake of the Woods, Minnesota. So if anybody knows where that's at, and then you got to go through Canada to get there, most northern portion of the United States, in Minnesota. And we were there, and I was talking to my boss, and I knew the HR director was on the phone, so I knew it was coming. They had a massive 10% layoff in their salaried employees, which ended up being over 300 some folks. The company I was at, and but I looked out the window, I looked at the lake, and I was in God's country, and I was at peace. I knew that this was just part of His journey for me, and it was amazing. I literally, told my dad, "Hey, I just got laid off." It's like, well, what do you want to do? And I said, let's go fishing. And it was too perfect. It couldn't have been scripted any better, and I obviously get emotional because, my dad and I was haven't had the best relationship. He's a recovering alcoholic of 40 plus years, Vietnam veteran. He took over the business from his father, Reichert's Insurance there in Hoople. Actually came back. Well, to give his story a little bit because it just shows a little bit of perseverance in life. He went to college like what was expected, kind of wasn't doing so well, probably failing. And so he enlisted and, obviously said, I got drafted, but, he didn't have that intestinal fortitude to come forward and say, hey, I was failing at one thing, so I'm going to jump on a grenade, basically, enlist and head over to Vietnam. And so he did that, came back, went back to college. And his junior year, his father got sick and he went back home and started helping with the business and married my mother and never went back to school. He just fought the good fight. He sobered up when I was 6. And I can't imagine what it was like for him to grow up in that community. It's a very Protestant community, and we were Catholics, so one of only a handful. And small town, but still, it's one. Hey, if there's 400, and only 40 are X and 360 are Y, it's one of those things. I talk about division in my first book. God only knows the devil comes here with a second chance at life, and a lot of other things, recovery, separation and divorce, death and so forth. But I guess to this end, seeing him have to go through that fight and kind of go alone, I mean, he worked a program and so forth in his recovery, but I'm sure it was so lonely. I mean, I'm in a metropolis, metroplex, 3.5 million people. I can walk around and really no one knows me. I mean, hence, I think why the good Lord allowed me to leave and join the military. And now today, I'm proud to be part of that community. This is a town probably today of less than 300 people. It just keeps getting smaller. But the cohort of the people that are there and the pride that they have in their community. I was finally back last year and to see some of my old friends that I grew up with that I hadn't seen in 25 years longer, since I left. Just one of those where it's pride, it's prideful in a good way, and it's something just like our faith to, I actually was rebaptized just this past spring, and to think to become anew again in all of it and all of this that happens in our life, and that's the same thing I think of for Hoople, North Dakota, Tatertown, USA. It's like they just continue to make it anew, basically every year. They throw a swimming pool ball so the kids have a swimming pool. Like it's like what little town of whatever has a swimming pool? I mean, like Grafton, that's 20 miles away. They have like 5,000 people, so yeah, they have a pool, but like it's just so cool to see when people come together, just like Rory, you having this platform for us to, like literally I laugh. I think back to high school, it was small. I mean, I don't know how many boys we had in my class. Like we graduated with 11. Took like 3 towns to make up our football team. But for homecoming, like, on my like as one of the king candidates, it's like we're not lying, vote for Ryan or something. And it's always been in the backside of like, what a lion brings out, that roar, but also the presence of the still leader that, that servant leader that truly is there to serve, and I think for all of us, like we're here to serve. We're here to serve him because what he did for all of us. And, I can go so many different ways with it when it comes to like I didn't ever want to be an entrepreneur. I mean, I feared that, seeing what my dad went through and what it took to run the business for all those years when he sold it in the early 2000s, and what it financially would have came from it, all these certain things that pull us, right? Is it money? Is it pride? Is it ego? Status and title and so on and so forth. And to me, today when I think about that, like I'm so happy I'm an entrepreneur. Like it's like the greatest gift that was, on top of my sobriety, but like the freedom to like right now I'm working, and it's just two dudes like having a conversation and trying to tell our stories together and have that side as I listen to May. Hopefully no one can hear her. She's upset that we're talking and she'd rather like play with her toy or whatever across the apartment here. But um yeah, it's wild, it's crazy, it's so exciting, and it's when you can finally slow down in life and really reflect, because like I said, I grew up Catholic, so did that for 22 years or whatever, married into Lutheranism, did that for 22 years. And, now I've just been following Jesus Christ the last couple. And it's different. I have a saying, and I know I'm shamelessly plagiarizing it, but it's how's it go? It goes, religion is for those who are trying to stay out of hell. Spirituality is for those of us who've already been there. And it's one of those to me where, I think of it all the time when, somebody says, I'm not very religious, and I'm like, okay, well, then I guarantee you're pretty spiritual because you've probably walked through hell in your life. And, it's okay. You can read the Bible and it's spiritual. There's the denomination of Christ there, and so God, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit, they're just the Trinity, and they're what hold it all together. And not saying anything against Catholicism, Lutheranism, whatever is under the sun, the dominations of the denominations, but it's the fact that there is only one true Son, and it's JC. And to think, I would have been the guy next to him, hanging on the cross going, well, what'd you do to get here? He's like, nothing. And I'm like, well, the list is long, just like you're rattling off in the beginning. The reason why there's that long of a list is because all the sinning that I did before, I mean, I was a sinful soul here, and it's time to clean up the act.
I mean, I appreciate you being so open about it all. And like you said, you used to be the type of guy that wouldn't be open about it all. So I appreciate that because, I know that we have listeners who are fighting these battles. I have another podcast where we talk to men about these types of things a lot. And it's, I know from feedback from the folks who are listening that it matters. So it's a really huge thing that you're doing, talking about all this. So I want to applaud you for that, man, big time. And I know it isn't easy to do that either. When you start talking about your story and kind of where you came from, um, usually when I'm talking to somebody who has, some of the issues that you've overcome, they have a parent who had those issues as well. You feel like you kind of learned that or it got passed down in some way, maybe through a behavior or something, or, a learned way to cope?
I would say the science side of it would say absolutely.
Yeah.
I look at the more spiritual side of it and look at the what do you want to call them? Generational curses. I
Right.
think spiritual warfare, we might call it. So it's,
Oh, yeah.
for those of us who, read the biggest book, the baddest book in the world, 66 books in one. There's maybe a story of Job that's in there, and it's pretty. I can relate with so many, David, Solomon, Abraham, Job. We'll go with Job today. And it's like, good Lord's like, him and Lucifer himself are just like, kicking rocks together. And it's like, hey, what will he let me do to the Reicherts or the Zimneys, the family that I had to, come up through this side through. And it's one of those to me that where it's going to be, hey, yeah, sounds good. All seven deadly sins are going to rock and roll through that, those two bloodlines, left and right. And then this little guy, Ryan Thomas Riker, is going to be born, and he's the one who's going to have to grab that. It's not a sledgehammer, it's I don't know, I'm trying to grab something that would resemble like a small hammer, right?
Right.
And you think about like being in prison, turning, big rocks into small rocks, and you want a sledgehammer, but you're going to have to do it with this little, what was it, Shawshank Redemption, I think of, and where they find the little, whatever it was that he had, and that's what got him out.
Yeah.
And yeah, so for me, from day one, I didn't want to come into this world. My mom tells the story of like the forceps being used, and I had like kind of a cone head and so forth, and it yanked me in, So from day one, it was that, like knowing once I came out, like it was gonna be hard. And crazy story, talk about writing books. So everyone thought I could read at like 3 years old. They're like, "Holy cows, this kid, he's prodigy of whatever." Like, so I'm in third grade, and my parents are, after school with Mrs. Ramsey, and I'm in the hallway, obviously, and I'm like, "Oh, this isn't going to be good." And I can kind of hear through the door, and they end up, like, we're gonna have to hold Ryan back. He's failing reading really bad, and like the rest of his schoolwork isn't that good. And, I'm like, oh man, I'm just shaking out in the hallway. So, my mom, she's a reading teacher. So the irony I love, his sense of humor is so good. And so anyways, they come out and, say, hey, we're gonna put some extra work in. And I think if we can get your grades up by the end of the year, you won't get held back and so on and so forth. And I remember just my mom saying, just like she's always said, it'll be okay. And it was. And no big deal. I didn't get held back. And next thing you know, the next year, you're getting glasses. I joke about this like kind of thing because I'm reading Todd Herman's The Alter Ego Effect, and he talks about that with like alter egos and Superman versus Clark Kent, who's the alter ego. And as I see you wearing glasses over there too.
Right.
And it's for those of us who are slow learners, I'm certainly a slow learner. That North Dakota public education, which wasn't so bad in the end. Here we'll get to that, but that basically it's Clark Kent. That's the alter ego for Superman. Superman,
Right.
Superman.
Yeah.
And so, like, what was your alter ego, or what is your alter ego? I mean, I have so many of them, and so forth. But to get to that end is what I'm saying is the good Lord, like, will protect us by shielding, certain things. Like I would have never thought that I would write books, like I make the joke, like if I can write a book, let alone read a book, it's one of those things. And it's just like we just put the work in, you'll get whatever you want. You just have to be consistent, like every day, sit in front of a computer for 30 minutes. First day, you might not write a single word, but I guarantee that second day, you'll at least put a couple sentences together because you're not going to waste another 30 minutes of your life. But then we pull our phones out. We're like, hey, you work from home now. I'll just go watch Netflix, while I got my, whatever going on. So to me, what I'm trying to get at though is he will protect us. So like we go through life thinking like I thought I was below average IQ, so on and so forth. I suffered from, this learning disability. Like I said, my mom's a reading teacher. Then she became uh, a special education teacher. Then she taught visually impaired children with special education formats and so on and so forth. And I guarantee that she would be Dr. Marilyn Zimney today. But my dad, after he sobered up, she stayed with him 16 years. And in those 16 years, I don't know how many times he's hospitalized for his depression because his PTSD, one was untreated until, probably the early 2000s when he finally, became, part of the VA and so on and so forth. And, back for him, there wouldn't have been, I mean, I think the VA here in Minneapolis today, amazing, the care that I get and think about my ex-wife. She works for the VA. Does a phenomenal job as a social worker, right? There and helps out so many veterans. So it's one of those things to me that we all are just, I talk about it a lot, like, think negative, get negative, so on and so forth. Yeah, I like was just like my dad. Getting back to your question, like, was it environment? Was it not? I mean, I think it's just a good Lord and how He's going to operate. Like, how there's no like tests with the testimony with the test, whatever the saying is. Like, but that miraculous comeback. To think like I didn't start writing any of the books. I had about 13 months of sobriety. I still remember it like it was yesterday. And my mom was here visiting. So it was after Christmas. And it was the 30th of November. It was the day that I got the final divorce decree, like in the mail. And she's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm just gonna go. I've been writing some stuff on a notepad. I'm just gonna put it in a Word document at least. We're not doing anything today anyways. It's snowing outside and cold." And she loves to just read and do crossword puzzles and put puzzles together, right? Like, and then obviously she helps at the church and all these other things. But she's like, "All right, sounds good. I got like 3 books and a puzzle I'm gonna start putting together." I'm like, "I can do whatever I want today. Like, my mom's good." And I don't know. It was like 8 hours later. She checked on me a couple times, but yeah, I wrote, I don't know, 70% of that first book. And it wasn't me. It was the Holy Spirit just,
Well,
doing the crazy thing. And you see so many different sides of it. So like in the end, there's the science side of everything because he needs to shape the world in such a way that, these miracles can happen. And, it's just like the joke we were talking about before we started about our healer, our protector, the podcast I co-host with Lisa Sander. She's a nurse of 25 years, our healer, for those that love the science side. Me, 23 years as a soldier, our protector. But I'm sorry, people, for those of you that are listening and those who are watching. It's him. It's God, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit. I'm sorry. There's just no way about it. Like for me, like remember Lisa and I started the show, like I was the protector, she was the healer, right? Like both gone through divorce, like all these things. And to see the roles flip a little bit, like depending on what wounds haven't healed, like if something happens for her, maybe with, her ex-husband or ex-friend or ex whatever, like, and she's healed, but like it's a trigger for me, like just hearing the discussion about it, like, I go into instant protector mode, kind of thing. And I'm like, and
yeah,
it's like, whoa, pause, dude. It's not your fight to, don't pick up your sword, like you
right.
laid it down, just leave it there. And then if roles are reversed, it's the same way because I feel I've healed in a lot of different areas, but like one for her is like financial, like, she's still fighting through that financial battle because of what she went through in her science project of life. And so like, it's like, let it go. Like the good Lord will provide, just because you said you wanted $1 million in your bank account, like, and it's got to go down to zero so you can let go of that fear and that control that we hold on to. I mean, that was me to a T. That was like sweet Fortune 500 America, like getting paid twice as much as I was making as a lieutenant colonel in the army. Like, what does that do with a guy that's got pride and ego problems? He's got a drinking problem. He's got a prescription drug problem. He's got a lustfulness problem. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, you want to talk about going to Vegas and blowing some money? Like we can go there. I can tell you 3 years ago, after profit sharing, what that looked like. Like you get a check, in March or April, whenever it was when we got them, for amounts that, gosh, I don't know how many months in the army I'd have to work, 4 or 5 months, kind of thing. And you get that in one day, and that's the week, every week that you go with your buddies to Vegas, you go to NASCAR. Yeah, if you
Yeah.
got all your stuff aligned, let me know how well you do in that
Bet.
budget that you've aligned with your spouse, saying, hey, I'm going to go there. Tickets for NASCAR this much. We go to the barbershop, the Cosmopolitan, we got a private table, but my portion's only this amount. So like it's all within budget, right? As soon as you land, meet up with all your buddies and you're high-fiving, and you're like, yeah, hall pass. We're good. Let's just light this town on fire. And, 2 days into it, you've blowing triple what you said your budget was. And, I would just lie about that because she doesn't need to know. You just put it on some card that she doesn't even remember we had it as a family, kind of thing. Because you're going to lie about what you're doing because you're living in the shadows,
Right.
going to a strip club,
Right.
paying for lap dances. It's just things that, like, I say this because I'm extremely, the shame and the guilt that I feel today in the pain that I put, my wife at the time, and my children didn't even know, and now today they know because of what I just, brutal honesty is the only way that I can continue to stay sober. And the good Lord knows that. And he's like, that's fine. I will take your gluttony away from you like this. All you have to do is just tell the truth. And that to me, and it is just, it's hard because it's like I have estrangement with, one of my children is in my life a little bit, the other one's not at all. And so, because she had to feel more of that pain, she was there when, like my ex wife found out about my infidelity and so on and so forth. And, jealousy is something I really want to talk. I haven't talked about jealousy all that much on a lot of the other shows I've been on. But I don't know what the other day just popped in my head and thinking about like the seven deadly sins, but not really like understanding jealousy and what jealousy can do no matter where you're at in things. And then for me, my jealousy came and I wasn't strong enough to have, I just told you about all the lies I was telling, but I wasn't strong enough in my own skin to have a conversation with someone about things that were happening that hurt me, that I was jealous over. And, I only need to keep my side of the street clean, but it really just hurts to know that I was not, I'll say a man, I was still a boy. I mean, we get into that in the second book, The Icarus Effect, the highs and lows of our emotions. We all have feelings. And like for 45 years of my life, I was a boy, you know, I mean, and I'll call anybody out that's sitting there looking at the mirror. I say that you pull your invisible mirror out and it's like, who do you see? You know, if you can't be brutally honest, you're looking at a boy. And it's one of those things that the greatest good comes from the truth. Like the truth does set you free. He knows that with you telling the truth, like he will give you all the blessings and all the prayers that you've selfishly ever asked for. You literally just have to tell the truth. And I know that's like, whoa, I don't want $1 million that bad. I don't want to be president of the United States that bad. I don't want to have $1 billion enterprise. Like, I don't want to write a book that bad. I don't, like whatever you believe he wants you to have. He would not put those dreams in your mind. Uh, but it just comes with one small payment, every single day of your life. And that's telling the truth. And you're like, well, how long does it take to get what I want? Because if it's immediate, then yeah, I'll tell the truth. If I can get it tomorrow, I'll tell the truth today.
Right.
And it's not that easy. Well, I won't tell you. You just have to have faith.
Wow.
And you have to have hope and you have to have love. So I have that on the inside of my arm because I'm a slow learner. So I write things down and I put them on my body so I don't forget. Because yeah, that's just what happens is like, if Ryan comes into the picture here, I literally first thing I think of is like, how much money do I have? How much is the plane ticket? I'm heading to Vegas. I'm going to head to the casino. I'm going to head to the Spearmint Rhino and I'm going to drink and drug myself until I don't feel the pain I feel anymore.
Yeah.
Today, I don't have to do that because I have my 3 wins in from 5 to 9. It sets my 5 to 9 sets up my 9 to 5. So, I get my physical win, my mental win, and my spiritual win all within those 4 hours. And May, I got it. This is going to go a little bit while longer. Sorry, Rory.
It's okay.
She says, "Come on now, this afternoon. It's time to go play."
Right. I
And
understand.
yeah, it's like I'm in control. And anyways, we end up like running around all of these things. And so, if I don't work out, if I don't meditate, and I don't read my Bible, like you might as well write the day off because I'm going to get out in front of myself. I'm going to get on my phone right away. I'm going to want to see, how did the podcast do with the Tuesday launch, kind of thing. How's, my following looking on social media, some of the me's that like get in the way of the hymns, is one of those where, but if I do those 3 wins, like in the morning, I don't have to worry about it because he's already like, we've had our little powwow. It's just like in the military. It's exactly like my military experience. Come in, you're with the boys. Like we do a little huddle, in the morning, like get your stuff straight, go out, salute the flag, and then work out for an hour and a half together, get cleaned up, go have breakfast, and then work for another 12 hours after that. So like we would have everything done by 9 a.m. in the morning. We don't take this the wrong way. Whoever else is listening, never been in the military, but we did more by 9 o'clock than y'all will ever do in the day. Okay. Sorry. But that was a previous life. And so now just get your 3 daily wins in. You can just be like everybody else. Okay. No big deal. And that to me is where I see the change. I see the biggest change in myself. I see it in guys that I work with, that I coach. I got a couple guys that just they try to one up you always, and how much they can do, and I appreciate that. That pride and ego still bites you sometimes. You got to be a little more humble. And I know it sounds like at times like the bravado and the airborne ranger comes out at me now, but that's the passion to not want people to suffer, knowing that spiritual warfare does exist. You can't see it, you can't smell it. You got to be that quiet, that still. You got to, just like Jesus, like when he would go like talk to his father, like think about it, like he would always leave and get away from the masses, all that noise, all that chaos. He would remove himself. Um, Here in Northeast Minneapolis, we have it's de Montreville. It's the Jesuits who put it on, and it's amazing, like 100-acre campus. I actually laughed. I did my first silent retreat there this past January, and it's the Reichert family farm. It's called. And I was like, oh man, I wonder if I'm related at all. Like this would be so cool. And come to find out now, it's just another set of Reicherts. And anything doesn't matter. I believe in 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, so it's like we're aligned some way, shape, or form. We all came from the same three guys, like when this all started. So ancestrally, we're all part of, the same family, same tribe. And so being there, you want to talk about like getting like the voice of the Lord every day because it's silent. Like you're 3 days of silence. And I was like, it's intense. That first day, like anytime they give you a break, like I was taking a nap. And, it was just so impressive. And that's where I finished the book, the first book. So basically, like I said, I had 75% of it done like in a day, day and a half. And then like 3 weeks went by and I was like, oh, am I going to ever write again? Just nothing happened. And then went there and just constantly between sermons and scripture and just silence, he started talking to me again. And so now I understand that that's just the meditation and you're just like when you read the Bible. I don't know for some people out there, and I'd love to get your take, Rory, on this. Is like when you read the Bible, do you start like thinking I mean, I wouldn't say thinking, it's just like stuff starts coming in that you can't describe. Like it's stuff that like you can maybe have seen it in your week previous or whatever's going on, or you forgot to do something like a project, like literally completely absent, but then all of a sudden, like specific details, and you're like, I just want to read the Bible. Like, what's going on here? And you just can't concentrate in that moment because there's not noise, but it's a voice. It's maybe a voice you've never heard before, And have you ever had that? Like when you read your Bible?
It happens all the time. It's never far from me, and it happens all the time. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah,
That's kind of like my meditation, is
yeah.
reading it. And then I get the downloads, I get the things that come to me. So let me ask you a question real quick. The Protector Development book series, I mean, they've all got different titles. How many books are in that series?
So there's three right now.
Okay.
So let's go. I got them close here. So God only knows when the devil comes for you. A second chance at life. For those who are watching this, or if you're listening, you're just going to have to go to Amazon or BarnesandNoble.com. They wouldn't. I'm not that cool yet, so they wouldn't have it like on the shelf. There's 4 million books published every year, which is amazing because there's a book in all of us. And I believe if you want to write a book, and this is done a little bit of research, 80% of people say, like, I'm going to write a book. The sad thing is, less than 2% do.
Right.
So it's just like getting sober. It's like a lot of different things. Like we have to put the work in. Like he does say, like if you tell the truth, like I can take that away from you. So you have to tell the truth, but you have to do it every day. But yeah, so first one, you can, if you went to Barnes and Noble, you just have to ask them, they'd order it, send it to you, whatever it is. But if all the .coms you can get it at in the book world. This
Right.
one though, yeah, it goes through basically recovery, separation, divorce, and then talks about life mapping with visions and so forth. So, like, if someone doesn't have a job, it basically how to create a vision board. And literally, I laugh at it now because, like, Lisa and I did this together for part of like our show. Is like, hey, Like we're like, let's do it. We're like, you talked about it because it's worked this far. Let's do it. And like everything that's on that is like in the process. So you're like, oh, well, then you got to take it down and update it. You know, like I want to be an author. Well, that's happened now. It's like I want to be a best-selling author, you know, and that's in the work because Jack Canfield and I are writing a book together. And if anybody knows him, he's like
Really?
number one all time, like between the Bible, the Quran, I think of him as Jack with 600 million books executed. So
Nice.
Jack Canfield, JC. So however you want to look at it, you know, I'm just saying like it wasn't me. He found me, I didn't find him, kind of thing. And it's super cool. Actually, this is what's cool. You laugh about not like I had no idea that this was ever coming in the mail. It showed up. I was having a bad day, you know. I don't know what happened, but it was just like, you know, you're like, want to, poor me. I wouldn't say I'd ever kick your name, but, you know, I didn't want to kick your dog. I was just having a bad day.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't get around it. And like, I got this package and I was like, what the, like, I don't order anything. Like, I shop at Hy-Vee across the street. I go to my meetings. I go to church. I teach the kids on Wednesday nights. That's about it. And so, yeah, I'm like, open this thing up. I'm like, what is this? And it's a picture of Jack Canfield holding my first book. And I just laugh at how how he works, you know, like
Yep.
if you remember in Braveheart, Stephen from Ireland, and I'm Irish, so this is where I love. It's like, you know, he's like, you know, looking, he's like, the good Lord, you know, says that
Right.
he can get me out of this, but you know, the rest of you are kind of, you know, you know the word.
Right.
And I think of like when you have just you finally stop the madness and just align yourself. He's like, thank you. You know, Bugs Bunny, right? Like, hey, you made a wrong turn at Albuquerque there, Ryan, you know, kind of thing. You know, he's been waiting for you. He's like, I can't stand this part of the story. You know, when he saw me go to Vegas and just like burn things to the ground. And he's like, but man, you know, in about another 6 months, the story gets pretty good. Like, you
Right.
know, like he's gonna tell the truth for the first time in his life, and then he's gonna keep telling the truth. And then he literally is going to like stop drinking, and you know he's going to unfortunately tell his family everything, and that's going to be hard, you know. And so I could
Yeah.
see where it was a pretty rough year. And then he says, you know, hey, I got another one planned for you, and it's the Icarus effect, the highs and lows of our emotions. We all
Cool.
have feelings, and this one's special to me because it really does talk about being that boy for so long and not understanding. I think this where you could look at when I see my dad, you know, I see let's see, I was 6 when he sobered up. I see myself and then him as that 6-year-old little boy that like just couldn't, you know, his voice was just taken from him. You know, he would have grown up Irish Catholic and Grandpa Reich, you know, prominent official in the community. You know, he started Reichert's Insurance. He was the superintendent of the school. You know, he was in the Navy, an officer in the Navy. You know, the dude could do whatever. You know, and but the problem is, we know back then, like you know, I mean, he had PTSD too. He was in you know World War II, 3 years in the Pacific. I mean, 3 years.
Wow.
Um, you know, I have 4 years in the Middle East, but I guarantee it wasn't what he saw, you know,
Yeah.
what he went through, you know. So just knowing that whatever I went through with my dad, whatever my dad had to go 4 times more probably than I had to go through. And so to see him today, I still see it like, you know, the 6-year-old little boy just scared, you know, that his dad's either going to leave him, you know, he's going to hurt him, he's going to yell at him. It's that punishing God that I grew up with in the Catholicism. That's all I can think of when we go to church, when we come home from church, you know, we just weren't like, there wasn't the love. Like, I mean, I know my mother and father loved me greatly, but it's just one of those that it wasn't, it wasn't what I know today, you know, like, you know, it's just like reading the Bible and you reading the Old Testaments. And, you know, a year ago when I bought my first Bible, it was like, you know, like going, I'm going to go front to back. Like, let's go, let's see what this is like. And you're like, Old Testament, you're like, Yeah. And then I'm glad I joined the Bible study like this time last year because I was like, when am I ever going to get to the New Testament? It takes a while to get there.
Yeah.
And it's like, don't worry, pull you in a Bible study. We're gonna, we'll be in the New Testament right off the bat. And that was good because like I get it. And we talked about it before we hopped on the show, is like the splintered faith and understanding of like, like I'm not a big news watcher. I mean, I spent 20 plus years like being part of the news, and
Right.
everything. So it just, to me, I don't need it. It's not that I'm afraid of it. It's just I can control it. So it's a lot of noise. And I what I mean by controlling, I control turning it on, turning it off, like kind of thing. But it's something to me where I can't control what happens outside of like me. I'm the only thing that's the only thing Ryan can control is Ryan, So like that's it. That's as far. Sphere of influence, sphere of control, it's just one of those that drives me nuts when I'm like, if I get outside of myself. And so to that end, I guess when I look at it today, our faith is the same. It's the same. It's like, well, why would he do that? He's punishing us. Well, absolutely, he's gonna punish us because like I think about how sinful I was, man. I got off light, like I mean, if you really think about it, I mean,
Right.
all the dark and demonistic things that I did, like not understanding that it was like, it's just like he made it just like Job, like we talked about a little bit ago. He's like, just like, hey, this is the deal. Like, yeah, you can do that with that guy, and he's gonna do some dark stuff, but like you don't know what I put in him. Like, you don't know what's gonna happen. Like when you get to this part of the story, you're like, whatever, like look at this dude for 45 years did what he did. Like, come on. Like, no way. Like, and it's like, oh, well, we'll see. And so that's what this one gets into that. It really breaks it down. Harvard has a great study that works through. It's funny the things you forget when you write stuff too. But it really breaks down your self skills and your social skills. And it's really neat to see how we can actually learn and adjust our emotional quotient. So our EQ, our IQ is pretty I mean, that's why you should read. That's why you should write, so on and so forth. To keep your IQ is whatever I say. This is terrible, but I used to say in a previous life all the time to people. You can't put in what God left out. And it was fortunate. It was probably somebody that was a really slow learner, even slower than me, where you're just like you're being very hurtful. But what that means is like the bar is this high. You have to keep working to keep it that high. Like, so you got to read, you got to write. Just because you go to high school and get a diploma doesn't mean you stop reading and writing there. Just because you go to
Right.
college, and get a diploma, like see all these things like certification diploma, it doesn't mean anything. Like it's today, right now. Like, what are you doing? What are you putting in? Like, and so that's what that means is, you can't put when God leaves out because you got to keep doing the
Right.
work. You got to take the steps every day, physically, mentally, spiritually. Just keep at
Absolutely.
it. It's like we're just like we were never meant to stop. Like like that's the thing. It's like why do some people live to be 105 and everyone's like, oh they're blessed like whatever. It's like I guarantee you if like you took an assessment of that person and what they did every single day, it would be that consistency in their practices that got them there because the good Lord's like they were faithful. They were a faithful servant, and that's how He blesses you. It's not the riches. That's nice, like yeah, it was great when you made like I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Fantastic. Couldn't fill that God-sized hole I had. I just kept filling with drugs, alcohol, women, all those
Right.
sad things, expensive cars, houses, trips. Nothing could fill it. Nothing. And today, what fills it is, this is one thing I'd love to talk about a little bit is just giving back to our veteran community. And,
Hmm.
and everyone's like, well, you're a veteran. I'm like, yeah, no crap. Like, I want to give back to like my brothers and sisters. And so, like, on the second book, we got it in here, and it's Bravo Zulu House. It's the
Ah,
first all veteran sober house in the nation. So we just celebrated 250 years. as a nation here, and it took until just in June here to get the first all veteran sober house. So we've had boys and girls, brothers and sisters fighting for this great nation. And it is the greatest by far. Because I've been to a lot of them. I've seen behind the curtain. Nothing comes close to what we have here.
That's awesome.
And so, if you're ever looking for somewhere to give, just even support, if it's sending a letter to somebody that's there, I think they'll have 13 total veterans. So that this is the first all male, and then the all women's. Hopefully, I want to say they're breaking ground here. Well, it's still summer, so they said fall at 25. So maybe by the summer of 26, that it could be maybe up and running.
Okay.
Yeah, the first women's one. But anyways, to that end, I just like wherever we can give back, and it doesn't have to be to veterans either. There's plenty of folks in our communities that we can help out. If it's, giving a backpack to, a family that, they can't buy stuff as school starts here. I know Minnesota in a few weeks. And that's part of Lisa and I. We started a nonprofit, Our Healer, Our Protector, is part of the podcast, and we give back to our church. Does a great drive for like the backpacks at the beginning of school with kids. So we each put together a backpack right now, and it's kind of coming from our own pockets. But hopefully we can continue to drive towards similar things. I think of where you're how's the saying go? Like, feed the poor, protect the weak, and, however that goes, like heal the sick, just what can we do to give back? Because there's just those of us, and, you're doing Rory, this platform, and a lot of your other, I mean, you said what, three podcasts? It's amazing.
Yeah.
Uh, Allow our stories to be told, because like that's the thing. Like I said, couldn't read, and now today write books. Didn't like public speaking, even though in the military I had to do a lot of it. That was just training. But I didn't realize this. It's like, well, if I make you an alcoholic, you probably join a program that maybe I had a little bit of influence on. And you'd go and have to talk you wouldn't have to talk, but you'll talk sooner or later. And so
Yeah.
to think, I don't know how many meetings I've been to in the last 20 plus months, 21 months, wherever we're at in this journey. But it's like that's just practice. It's just putting in the reps. It's like going to the gym. It's like training in the army. You don't realize what he's doing, like because like you're just please get me audible. A little foxhole prayer, like I'll do anything not to feel like this. It's like, well,
Right.
you're gonna have to do a lot more, and then you're gonna actually have to do a lot more. So
I hear you, man. The first of all, you're doing a great job of hitting all our points. Because I was going to ask you some of these questions, but you're like, no, we got this, got this, got this. It's perfect, and I appreciate it. But we didn't get to the third book yet. You said there were
oh
three
yeah,
books,
so
so I
the
just want to
third
make sure
the
we get that third book, and
third
then
book.
yeah,
So this is where he's like patience.
you're good.
'Cause I was like, third book be right behind the second book. And so he's like, no, you're not that good. So I'm going to get you a writing coach. And this kind of with Jack, it's how it works. I got paired up with Steve Harrison, who's worked with Jack since I think Jack got turned down 143 times. So Chicken Soup for the Soul, the first one, 143 publishers, or maybe okay, let's say 142 said no. 143 is what it took. And so it's funny how I don't know where I was at in the process, but I got teamed up with Steve Harrison, and Steve had a program that was like, yeah, we have a writing coach that she'll be paired up with, and then you'll have some marketing. And I just wanted it for the marketing because I knew the first book would be coming out, and I have no idea what marketing is, couldn't even spell it. But I get this writing coach. She's like, yeah, you got a lot here and it's really, really good, but like it's kind of all over the place. And I was like, man, I think it's similar to my first two books though. Like, I'm like, this is scary. And then I like got the first book, like after it was all put together. And I was like, well, no, it's like, she's right. When I read this third book that it like, so the good Lord, like kind of like was like, no, like you're just the one typing. I'm the one pumping it into you. So it was weird how like not being able to force it. It's like kind of like being a farmer, right? Like if they never plant, they never can have a harvest. So it's one of those things that
Yeah.
he's like, I got you started, but now, I'm going to give you the tractor. I'm going to give you the plow. I'm going to give you all these things. to make that harvest better. And so we're in editorial review, just got those back. We're adjusting things. We've had 50 different names under the sun. And I keep getting more folks that I talk to, keep talking about titles. And they're not talking about like titles of my book. They're just in general. They're like when it comes to titles of books, they're extremely important. Like when it comes to this book, like a terrible book, but this title sold 15 million copies, and like I'm like, oh, I see what's going on here. This is the massaging part of it all. So, anyways, I'll just throw one out there, and I don't know if it'll stick, but like the one day at a time theory, 6 steps to thrive every day. I don't think that's the right title, but it was a lot of different ones before, like 24 hours to live, 6 steps to survive today, and I was like, that's like kind of because I had this military side of it that I wanted to go with, but I told somebody I was going to write 5 books this year, and I did it publicly. So it's going to be out this year, along with the one that Jack and myself and a handful of other people are doing together. And then
Nice.
the fourth one, Lisa and I are doing. I think we're about 12,000 words into it. So we got a lot to do in the next 4 months. But that would round out the first Art Protected Development series, which aligns with the online course that comes out in no later than the end of September. And then we have an application that'll pair with all of that, that all aligns with the coaching program and the speaking that I've done with the mission project and so on and so forth. And yeah, it's just totally blessed every single day. It's well, this is what makes it so much fun is like you and me don't know each other from Adam nor Eve, and here we are. And now I like it's the shot of juice I needed in my arm that I can now, pull up that third book and do the edits that we just got back, and it's all that's what it takes. So whoever I'm talking to right now today that's listening, is just knowing that it will get better. Like just because today's dark and dreary, I used to call myself Rainy Ryan. I did the Alpha course last summer, and they said, "Hey, you have to like describe yourself one word." I said Rainy, and they're like, "Why?" And I was like, "Well, because I'm sad and blue." And then by the end of Alpha, they asked, like, where do you see yourself, now? And I was like, I'm still Rainy Ryan or whatever, but it's okay to dance in the rain because it washes everything away. And it's really cute because a couple that was facilitating it, I'm good friends with them today, but like, where it was always you just those fellowship moments that you have, just like you and me today, like we're just brothers from other mothers, we just hadn't met yet, and it's so cool to know that like we're connected now today, and we'll continue to go like slay those dragons. It's just the pride of the lion. That's to me like the family, that cohort. It's all of us under the sun, and we were just fractured over time and space. So
Yeah.
it's now we're just all coming back together, and I truly believe that. And unfortunately, we can't bring everybody with us. That's the
Right.
hardest. That's the hardest.
Right. Well, I love what you're doing because you're sure trying to bring everybody with you, and I appreciate that. We got the books, you got the app coming, you got the course coming, we got more books coming. So I mean, you're laying it out, you're laying it out there, man, and I appreciate that. We got to have you
Yeah.
back on when you're getting these other things out.
Yeah, I would love to, my
So
friend, and certainly, like I said, Lisa and I do ours, and it's cool because we do a couple together. It's like that's a cool thing. You got a co-host. It's like we can do them together and just talk about life, and we
right.
focus a lot on the divorce, blended family stuff. But yeah, we'll see like paths crossing as well, and having our side of the street and different things that we do, and we do some retreats and things like that we have coming up in October and so
Oh,
forth.
awesome.
So yeah,
All right.
it's just part of life now. It's just living one day at a time and loving life fully because you just whenever you're having a bad day, not saying that I was having a bad day today, just you have something like this that makes it so much better, and it's exciting and stuff. Thank you.
That's awesome, man. Honestly, and God's at the heart of it all, driving the whole ship for you. And I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, I wish nothing but the best for you and power to you on all this. So
Thank you,
I
sir.
can't wait to hear more about all of these as they come up. I think this
Yeah.
is just the beginning, okay, for it.
Yeah.
Not even kidding. Um, I'll tell you what, Ryan, I love it, absolutely love it. And we've got the Our Protector Development book series, all the other stuff we talked about, and give everybody the name of the podcast one more time in case they want to go find that.
Yeah, absolutely. Would love to. Our healer, our protector.
Yep.
I always say YouTube just because like you can see everything that's going on because Lisa and I do post other things that we're up to. And yeah, if you subscribe, definitely that's the best thing under the sun. Doesn't cost you anything. You know, I know everybody when we first launched, it was like, how much did it cost me on YouTube? Like, you know, like I'm not gonna pay to listen to you guys. I could just go to dinner with you or whatever. I'm like, you're still paying them, like, you know, to have dinner. But no,
Right.
so yeah, subscribe, like, share that. And from a social media standpoint, you know, Ryan T. Reichert I even have a TikTok account now, but that would be like Instagram. I think it's Army RT 1978, which has been my like Yahoo email for the last like 30 years. But anyways, yeah, it's wild and crazy. Would love anybody that listens, reach out, please. I'm just love to chat. Obviously, you can tell, like, you know, Rory and I prepped a little bit, so he teed me up real nice, and like it's you know, I could talk forever about stuff because stories just the good Lord just opens up a story that I totally forgot from 20 years ago, and I'm like, oh, I could really tell that about Kim's games, and you know, like
Yeah.
knowing how to always if someone starts prepping you in life like you did, like it's like, okay, we're going to cover all these areas and I'll just do it by telling stories. And it's not me. It's like the good Lord, because when you slow yourself down, like he'll actually just talk to you and
Yeah.
he'll tell you like where he wants you to go.
Right on, brother. All right. Absolutely love it. So that's the best way for everybody to reach you.
So,
What you just gave them. All right. All that stuff's going to be in the show notes for sure. Ryan Reichert, brother, thank you for coming on, sharing everything that you did. Looking forward to hearing all the progress and having you spreading his word the way you are. It's going to be an awesome thing to watch develop. Looking forward to
awesome.
seeing you in the future, man.
Thank you, Rory. Greatly
All right.
appreciate it. Love everybody.
Absolutely. Folks, I'm telling you, the reason we bring these powerful people on here is because it is time. It is time to wake up the lions. And more than that, it's time for you to take your rightful place with your brothers and your sisters and let them hear you roar. Folks, the world is ready. You're ready. You just have to believe it.